What's up? Welcome to National Pleasure, your Nic Cage headquarters.
It's the national,
This is the place where we learn about the world around us through the eyes of Nicolas Cage. And today we're going to discuss the time that Seth Rogen broke to the world that at one point Nicolas Cage was very close to being involved in the film Green Hornet, which came out in 2011, and the story has some twists and turns. Seth Rogen was on the Howard Stern show a bit back, and according to him, at one point Nicolas Cage was interested in appearing in the Green Hornet, the superhero film, which starred, of course, Seth Rogen alongside Jay Chow. Now, that part, normal enough. But here's where it gets a little weird. Cage's first idea was to appear as a bald character with hair tattooed on his own head. Like, that was part of the character. He's going to have hair tattooed on his head. But before Rogen and his writing partner had even figured out what that meant, Cage changed his mind because he had become interested in trying the look in real life. So he shows up to meet with Seth Rogen and his writing partner, Evan Goldberg, has this crazy idea to have this bald villain that has hair tattooed on his head. And I'm sure they were like, wait, what? I don't know about that. And then he's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. We're not doing that anyway, because I'm going to do that in real life. I'm going to tattoo hair on my actual head in my day-to-day. Rogen said he then laughed hysterically at this. Not realizing that Cage was actually serious. So then, Cage came up with another concept, a white Jamaican guy. Rogen said it set off a lot of alarms for us. Not that a white Jamaican guy is bad, but doing the accent and all that stuff seemed like too much. Nevertheless, Rogen said that the top Sony executive invited him, Goldberg, and Cage to her house to discuss the role. Rogen said he was nervous about Cage performing this character because he wouldn't know how to react. But Goldberg, his writing partner, assured him that Cage would just be discussing the idea, not performing. But he was wrong. He said that, again, this is a quote from Rogen on the Howard Stern podcast. He said, "We show up at the house, and within 60 seconds, we were all seated in the living room as Nic Cage stood up in front of us reciting a monologue in a Jamaican accent. We were all just like, what's happening? A monologue, I should add, that was not in the script, nor did it have anything to do with the script. At which point I was like, I don't think he's read the script. There was no indication he had any idea what film we were trying to make, other than it was called The Green Hornet and there was a villain in it." Which is odd because I would imagine Nicolas Cage is a Green Hornet fan. He's a big comic book guy. Rogen said he didn't know how to react to all this, which wasn't the response Nicolas Cage was looking for. Apparently, Nicolas Cage left shortly after this whole little incident, and it just seems like he shows up, he has one set of ideas, and Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg show up, and they have their written script. They're ready to go. Just seems like there wasn't a melding of the minds, if you will. From Cage's POV, he put out a statement via a representative in response to Seth Rogen's account of the actor's audition for the Green Hornet. He said, "I like Seth. He's a funny guy, and clearly a good storyteller. I wish him luck with his book." So Seth Rogen was promoting a book at this time, so it could just be that Seth Rogen is embellishing this Nic Cage story, knowing that with all the lore around Nic Cage, people could easily latch onto this and believe that it happened. Or maybe Nicolas Cage was just feeling these ideas and he just got out there and was as cagey as he possibly could be. Who knows? Nic Cage had been in talks to play a role in the film, saying in 2009 that the Green Hornet was something he wanted to do. He said, "I think Michel Gondry, who was the director of Green Hornet, who had directed Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and The Science of Sleep," he said, "Michel is very talented and I had hoped it would work, but I think Seth Rogen and Michel had a different direction for the character totally than the way I wanted it to go." Which obviously, if this story holds up, it's very different. "I wasn't interested in just being a straight up bad guy who was killing people willy-nilly. I had to have some humanity and try to give it something where you could understand why the character was the way he was. But there wasn't enough time to develop it." Now that Nicolas Cage has brought us here, let's talk about the Green Hornet for just a minute. A little history behind the character. He was, of course, a superhero created in 1936 by George W. Trindle and Franz Stryker with input from its radio director. Of course, it was a radio show. The radio director's name was James Jewell. It jumped from radio in the 30s. It debuted January 31st, 1936, to serials in the 40s, to a TV show in the 60s. Kind of had a similar path to Superman, which did all of the above. The TV show co-starred Bruce Lee as his sidekick Kato, which was always so cool to see him in that in his early acting career. Though various incarnations sometimes change details, in most versions, the Green Hornet is the alter ego of Britt Reed, the wealthy young publisher of the Daily Sentinel newspaper. By night, he wears his long green overcoat, gloves, green fedora hat, and a green mask. And he fights crime as the mysterious vigilante known as the Green Hornet. He is, of course, accompanied by his loyal and similarly masked partner and confidant, Kato, who drives their technologically advanced car, the Black Beauty, which is pretty awesome. Though both the police and the general public believe the Hornet to be a wanted criminal, Reed uses that perception to help him infiltrate the underworld, leaving behind for the police the criminals and any incriminating evidence he has found. In the original radio version of the Green Hornet, he is the great-nephew of the Lone Ranger, which must have been so cool to have that connection made as a little kid back then. A film version of the character had been contemplated since the 1990s. At one point, Jake Gyllenhaal was approached to play the lead, and another, Jet Li, was approached to play Kato. But a film didn't come to fruition until January 14th, 2011. Of course, the version we're talking about that Nicolas Cage was almost a part of. Some other people that starred in the movie were Cameron Diaz, Edward James Olmos, David Harbour, Christoph Waltz as the main villain, and Tom Wilkinson. So a pretty awesome cast. By the way, the film was in 3D for some reason, and that only expanded its already problematic budget. It was made for between $110 to $120 million, and it made $229.2 million. So it did make some money, but not enough in Hollywood's eyes. It got average to below average reviews and didn't quite uplive to its expectations. Rogen later proclaimed it a nightmare, and they canceled the plans for a sequel because it didn't make enough money. In the end, would Nicolas Cage have really heard anything here? I think he only could have improved it. Here are a few Green Hornet tidbits. Aretha Franklin's 1967 album, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, contains the song Save Me, which includes the lyric calling the Caped Crusader Green Hornet, Kato 2. I'm in so much trouble, I don't know what to do. That's pretty awesome. A Green Hornet reference in an Aretha Franklin song. Inspector Clouseau's valet/houseboy is also called Kato, but with a different spelling. In that instance, they spell it with a C, not a K. And his car in the film is Revenge of the Pink Panther, is a heavily modified car called the Silver Hornet. So a little couple shout outs there. The 1993 American semi-fictionalized biographical film Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, in which Jason Scott Lee portrayed Bruce Lee, features scenes involving the filming of the 1966 Green Hornet TV series. The 2003 film Kill Bill Volume 1 uses Billy May's theme from the 1960s television series in a sequence where the bride goes to Tokyo in search of O-Ren Ishii. The Crazy 88 wears masks resembling Bruce Lee's Kato mask. Also, very cool thing, if you're a comic book nerd like me, there was a brief Green Hornet crossover in the 1966 Batman TV series. Thanks for taking that dive on Green Hornet with me. Now, it's time for Nick in the News. This is very exciting, guys. A lot of people were bummed, and myself included, because the new Deadpool and Wolverine film did not feature Nicolas Cage as Ghost Rider in the multiverse saga, and it was just because Nicolas Cage was not available. His scheduling didn't line up. But it has been reported, and this isn't 100%, and we probably won't know until whatever project this is that comes out, but Ghost Rider might be back and make his MCU debut. The ongoing multiverse saga may offer Cage another chance at Ghost Rider. He could show up in either Avengers Doomsday or Avengers Secret Wars. Supposedly, they are in talks, so let's cross our fingers with that, you guys. And speaking of crossing our fingers, it's time for a Face Off 2 update. And once again, I tease it every week. I'm gonna bring it up every time I post one of these videos. This is another one in which we do not have an update on Face Off 2, but let's just put out good thoughts and hope that it comes together. As of now, it has not been canceled. It's still, in early production. Like, until we hear that it's being shut down, we know that it's still moving forward. So that's the good news. And now it's time for my favorite subject. What is Nic Cage doing right now? I believe that Nicolas Cage is somewhere out there constructing an accurate version of the set of Pee-wee's Playhouse in one of his many homes and is reenacting every episode with different friends playing different parts while he obviously portrays Pee-wee, all for an audience of Buddhist monks. That's what I think. All right, guys, that's it for this time. Thanks for tagging along. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. I can't wait to see where Nicolas Cage's mind takes us next.